Hi again, folks. How's all doing? Welcome to another In the Shed. So last time I was talking about the Ren 8F that was sent to me by Paul. It wasn't running very nicely around the curves, so I took it all to bits, pulled the rods off to be able to pull the wheels off, so I could give everything a really good clean out and make sure that the insides of the wheels and the chassis were clean and smooth. To pull the crank pins on these old models, I use a track cutter. Very careful not to squeeze them together, of course, but I find that the blades slide nicely under the heads of the pins, and with a little pull up, out they come. So I cleaned it all up, put it all back together, made sure the movement was okay, and it did improve the running, but I think this is one of those old models that's just not going to run any better unless I replace the armature and bearings. I think they were pretty worn on this. Also, maybe it's just me, but I can't help thinking that the Ren armatures aren't as good as the double ones. I could maybe do with more windings, but I'm not sure about that. But I've worked on three 8Fs now, and they've all been a bit rough sounding and don't really like curves too much. I think the fairly long wheelbases may be part of the problem there. Anyway, I called time on this and sent it off back to Paul. It runs fine at faster speeds. It's really just at slow speeds it gets a bit temperamental. This Triumph Class 31 was sent to me by Jeff. He said he got this to relive his childhood locomotive he got in 1972, but this doesn't run. The motor bogie looked to be in okay condition, but it had a staple stuck in it. On dismantling, it was clear the bearings needed replaced, as they nearly always do on these motors. So I gave it a complete strip down and clean up and ordered replacement bearings. Thankfully, these are still readily available. To fit them, you've got to pull the worm gears off and then refit them. Pulling them off is easy enough with a puller, but refitting them can be a bit tricky. I've still to find a better vise or clamp than the old mitre clamp I always use for getting the gears back on these armatures. On reassembly, I found that the motor was a bit loose in the bogie. That'll interfere with the performance significantly and make a horrible noise. I've encountered this before, and what I do to sort it is drill a hole through the plastic housing into the die-cast bogie frame and then screw the housing to the bogie. You want to do this on the negative side to avoid the screw touching the pickup and causing a short, but that stops the excess movement. This is an old 31 with no pickups on the front bogie, and the wheels are the old style plastic ones. The live wheel axle set I used on the Pullman I worked on recently don't fit this bogie. So instead I used Ringfield motor wheels. These are X936 wheels and have a live axle. But it's necessary to pull these wheels off their axle and fit them onto the old axles to fit them into the bogie. I then fitted guitar string pickups to make contact with the live axles, as I did with the blue Pullman recently. So I thought I had this all sorted out, but when I ran it on the layout, it was stopping randomly, and it seemed to be a pickup issue. Now, as I'd fitted extra pickups, it clearly wasn't an issue of lack of pickup from the track, but I did notice that the pickups were a bit loose on the plastic motor housing, just due to bits of the housing being worn away. So I replaced the motor housing with a spare one that I had, and that held the pickups in place more securely to maintain contact with the brushes, and that seemed to solve the problem. End result is an old 31 with a revitalised motor and better pickup that'll be good for a few more years. Michael got in touch with me and asked if I'd look at this Hornby Flying Scotsman locomotive. Um, this belongs to a tender drive model, but Michael's acquired another tender and converted it for DCC. But he said he bought the locomotive at a toy fair, but it appeared to have locked up wheels. Michael just sent me the locomotive to see if I could sort it out, and on inspection, it was in a right old mess. Handrails were broken, the smokebox door was loose, some of the wheels were loose, but the others had been halved, not quartered. Rods were bent, and the pickups had been removed. Kind of looked to me like someone had butchered this for spares or something and thrown it back together to shove it in a scrap box, or it had been subjected to some extreme jiggery faffery. Hilariously, Michael was told at the toy fair that this was in running order. So I sorted out the wheels and rods, fitted new pickups and wiring, and it should be okay now. I was able to test it with one of my Ringfield tenders. I bought myself a new Sonic cleaner after my old one stopped working. This is a 2 litre DK Sonic, which, unlike my previous one, has dials to control the cleaning time and temperature. I think this might be more reliable, but we'll see. I just looked on Amazon and they don't sell this one at the moment. They've got the 900 millilitre one that I used to have, and then a 3 litre one or larger ones. But I think 2 litre is a nice size and it does the job. I'm still using clock cleaning fluid in it, but I might try it just with water and maybe some other solutions. Righto, next video will probably be a layout update. I'm ballasting just now. Catch you later, folks.